So I was in a Facebook group today and I saw a comment from someone who was asking for feedback on the jewelry that they make. So they run this jewelry company, they make it, brand, just make it at home, I think sell on Etsy and probably have a website. And she was asking in here, why I get so much traffic to my site, but people aren't buying. Like I get so much traffic to my site, people aren't buying, and it's something I hear all the time. And something that she also said in it was, she was like, I see all this traffic, but I think the price, she said in it, I think the price is super reasonable. So any feedback on why people aren't buying this stuff would be great. And she posted a bunch of pictures of the jewelry, which looked really amazing actually. So I'm not surprised that when she posted that people go to her site or go to her Etsy. And I left a comment on it that I'm going to elaborate on here, which was her language around price being reasonable. So I wrote back to her and I said, if you want to post the link, I'm happy to give a review of the conversions or ways that maybe something that could be hurting the fact that you're not getting as many sales as you want, and talk about whether it's the brand, maybe it's the layout, maybe it's the messaging, it could be any number of those factors. But price is a huge factor and component in this. And I specifically mentioned when she said reasonable. The price is reasonable. And I said to her, I said, you might think it's reasonable, but you have to remember that not everyone is looking for reasonable, especially when it comes to jewelry. Now, if you go, some things we are totally looking for reasonable. The brain is doing all these things when it looks at the price of a product. It's comparing, is this going to serve me? Does this help me survive? In what ways does it help me survive? Is this going to make my life better? Is this going to impress people? Is it not? Everyone has their own drivers. Some of it is status. Some of it is personal gain. Some of it is for their children. It's all, which is sometimes status too. But there's so many factors. It's impossible to know the exact computations that are happening inside any individual person because they're happening so fast and it's computing like a computer. So many different data points about whether or not something is worth it. Like even if you buy a burger at McDonald's and you're looking at the menu on the drive-thru, you're making all these computations. How hungry am I? How much money do I have right now? Will I eat again? What about the health factors? What about, is it going to taste good? Is the price worth the money for how much it's going to taste? But maybe, all these things, right? And so I think one thing people do, especially when they are making their own products or when they're pricing products on their store, is they're asking only their own perspective around, would I buy this for X? And specifically with her, because she's making this by hand, she's probably, one, factoring in the cost of the materials that she's using, but she's also having to think like, well, it takes me this long to make it, and it takes me this much cost of goods, and and I want it to be affordable, so would I buy this? And I want to make sure that people can afford this and all these things, and that actually can really hurt hurt your ability to make a sale. And the reason is because people aren't always looking for reasonable. Sometimes, especially in jewelry and lifestyle things and things where the computational value that you're trying to place around a situation, sometimes you actually want it to be unreasonable. And it's in that unreason that creates a buying opportunity. So I don't know what her price point is. I'd love to see the link. But I can imagine a situation, because this happens all the time when I'm looking at stores and when I'm talking to clients, where people really like the look. Like this jewelry, it looks expensive. Like it looks like diamonds and stuff. It looks really good. And when you think about buying jewelry, you're either buying it for yourself to be fancy, to be stylish, or you're buying it for somebody else as a gift, engagement, anniversary, whatever the case may be, and just to feel special. It's frivolous. It's not like buying garbage bags, where you're really price shopping here. Like the other day I was buying, I was at the grocery store and I was looking for recycling bags, and there was like 40 bags for $13.99, and then the store underneath I found the exact same brand for the exact same amount of bags on sale for $6.99. Way better deal. I'm really happy I didn't buy the other bags. and I was really happy that I found that. So that's an example of price shopping. Like garbage bags are a complete commodity, and they're just not. You all know what I'm saying. So when it comes to lifestyle products, that is jewelry, anything fashion, accessories, watches, um, all clothes basically, and anything that's not like a need, which in our society most things aren't. Price is no longer a factor. If you compete on price, you're just going to completely commoditize yourself out. And the other thing that happens is if people go to your site, let's take again this jewelry site. If people go to the jewelry site and they've got all this expectation built up in their mind because they look at it and it's beautiful and they're like, I'm super excited to get this and it's super stylish, and then they get to the site and the price, it's like $59 or worse, it's like $39 on sale from $69. You're not going to make any sales on that. I'd be highly surprised. Some people might buy because they're like, that's a bargain. But most people don't want to buy jewelry that looks amazing on a bargain. They actually want to feel like they spent a good amount of money on it. They want to feel like they're getting that return. They're associating the cost with the quality, which we know are not related at all. I mean, they've done tons of studies on. I'm looking over there at a wine glass. Wine is a big example, right, where they have people do blind taste tests and they tell them the price and they ask them to review the wine, and people will review the ones that are more expensive better, even though those weren't the original prices. And so we know in price psychology, you want to make sure that the price point is in symbiosis, is like relational to the value of it. And I'm not talking about the utility value of like a drinking glass is a drinking glass to drink water, like the hedonic value of what's my emotional investment in this? What do I want this to mean? And so my big hypothesis with her is that she's getting a lot of people bouncing because it's just not a synergy. It cheapens it to price it low, and people are psychologically expecting it to be high. And I think that if she raised her prices, she'd actually make a lot more sales because it would start to make sense for people. They'd be like, yeah, this is, I mean, looking at it, she could go thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars with it. You know, maybe $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, you know, or at the very least $500 for a set of earrings. That would look better with the product and actually sell more stuff. So my summary of this is, one, don't price things based on what you would buy it for, especially if it's your own company, because you know way too much and you're way too close to it, and your calculations about what's a deal or what's worth it are going to fundamentally be skewed. You know, what's his name? Howard Schultz, I think, from Starbucks, right? He's like, I never asked people if they wanted a $5 cup of coffee. Everyone would have said no. So you have to just base it on a whole bunch of other factors. The second thing to remember is that one of the reasons you might not be selling as much as you want is because your prices are actually too low. And there's a lot of things, you know, it doesn't mean just place any price on it, but when you're looking at your conversion rate and you're looking at what's working, your price might be turning people off and might be losing you sales. So think about that core buyer. Think about what they would want to spend on it. Think about why they're buying. Not just what they're buying, but why. And then put a price on it that reflects that. That reflects that idea that they're going to get what they want. Again, not what they want in a physical perspective, but what they want of the how and the why of why they're buying in the first place.